Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank the people over on Patreon who have taken the time out to help support the channel, and just got to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Once I start offering memberships and figure out what to offer for memberships on this channel, I'll start adding the names of YouTube members as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 178, and 178 is done and in the books. And right now I'm gonna go ahead and say something that I didn't think I was actually going to say, which is the fact that for a transition episode, not only was this a very good episode, but the anime actually addressed something that has been bugging me for what, this is 2020, so this has been bugging me since 2017, which is how in the hell did Ao survive the fourth Great Ninja War? That was something that we were not given an answer to in the actual manga, and so I'm glad that the anime took the time out to actually utilize flashbacks in the way that gave us brand new information. That was a very welcome treat to actually see that right there, whether it be the flashbacks where you see more of the conversation where you have Shikamaru and Ino's fathers talking to Ao, or whether or not you see how Ao actually survived the fourth Great Ninja War as far as with the Bijudama, as far as him being in a coma for several years. We're actually getting some answers that actually make you look at the events in the manga in a different way, and I love this simply for the fact that what they're doing right here is they're making the character of Ao a lot more relatable, because there was a drastic shift in this character when you look at everything that happens in the manga opposed to what you saw in the Naruto manga, or for anime fans, you saw Ao during the fourth Great Ninja War, and there's a bit of a shift. And so I like how the anime in just this one episode has done so much to prepare you for the changes that are coming to this character. And now all of a sudden when Ao meets Boruto, now you're gonna get a better understanding of why this character was talking as cryptically as he did. This was good. I personally have no problem with the fact that Ao was in a coma for several years. They don't say how long, but given the fact that he was in a coma for several years, I have no problem with the fact that the guy was in there long enough that there were advancements made in science where he's getting the ninja tech added to his body and he's having to work through rehab. I'm totally okay with that. Like that's something I'm fine with. However, the thing that I will say is that I would have actually liked to see how he survived the actual explosion. I understand he was caught under the debris and the rubble, and that's one of those things where it's like it's an act of God moment, but it was still a Bijudama from the freaking Ten Tails. The only thing I can think of on that is because the fourth Great Ninja War took place in 4 countries, 2 countries for the main battles, and you had smaller skirmishes that took place on the coast of the Land of Lightning and in the mountain graveyard portion where the hideout that Obito had at the time. The mountain graveyard, if I'm not mistaken, is between the hidden sound village and the hidden waterfall village. It's in that area, spanning in both of those sections. And so that war took place over a 4-country region, 2 main regions being the Land of Hot Water and the Land of Frost. And if a Bijudama is fired from 2 countries over into where the Shinobi HQ is, and Shinobi HQ, for those of you guys who need a reminder, is located in the Land of Lightning, maybe if the Bijudama lost some force because it was being fired from so far away, maybe I can accept that being one of the reasons why. But I mean, it's one of those things where this is fiction, so you have to suspend disbelief to an extent. By an act of God, he didn't get fully vaporized. He only got half of his body torn apart. That's the only real thing that we can kind of take from there. I mean, at this point it's fiction. You kind of suspend disbelief at this point. But the thing I'll definitely say though is I thought that there was another underrated aspect of what you see here. So when Ao comes in, I'm not going to spoil it for anime only fans, but when Ao comes in and he's in that reception desk, there's a moment where Ao does something, and again, I don't want to spoil for anime only fans, but he does something, and I'm really wondering if this is going to be tied in with what we see when Ao and Katasuke end up meeting each other. I'm really wondering if that's going to be the case. And I like how the anime is actually showing how Ao was able to being Konoha. At some point, he would have been added to the registry, even if he was just a hospital patient. And so I'm okay with the fact that Ino didn't question right away that he was here, because again, the guy's a survivor. The guy is seemingly there for being under the guise of paying respect to his friends that perished during the Fourth Great Ninja War. I mean, I'm totally okay with that aspect of it right there. But the thing I'll definitely say though is I like how this episode took time out to add more development to Shikamaru's character, where Shikamaru is looking at everything that his father did, and he has a moment where he questions and he wonders, like, did my father really think that we could actually pull this off, or was he just trying to boost our morale? And he questions himself as a parent, and the thing that he starts wondering is, when that time comes, will I be able to do the same thing for my son? And I feel like that could be foreshadowing, that could be, especially if you know what's going on in the manga, you know that things are very dark right now. So I'm really wondering if that's maybe something they're kind of throwing out there to test the waters on it. But I like the fact that what you see with Shikamaru as well as with Ino is that both of them are essentially questioning their mortality to a certain extent. And I thought that that was a very humanistic thing to do. That's something that I really like about the Naruto franchise, is that you get little small moments like this where the characters, all of a sudden, they're not these super overpowered shinobi or these shinobi with these super crazy abilities that employ all these different strategies and tactics, but they're just the normal people. And you just see him as a father looking at the back of his son and wondering, am I really doing a good job raising my son? Is he learning anything when he watches my back? And that's something that really, really hit me hard in the gut right there. That was a very beautiful line that totally hits home. So I thought that that was cool, man. I thought that that was cool to actually see the armor crack a little bit. And the other thing that I've seen people kind of talk about is the fact that, hey man, you know, we have this day of remembrance. How come people aren't talking about Naruto's birthday? And the one thing that I'll say here is there's something to keep in mind. So Naruto's birthday technically was on day 2 of the Fourth Great Ninja War. If this day of remembrance is on the day that the Ninja War started, then it will be one day before Naruto's birthday. So I'm okay with it. The other thing where I kind of want to shift gears though is I like how you get these small moments with Mujino and with Al, where you see Al when he's cloaked in the darkness and he says it's probably not a good idea for me to be here in the village and I don't want to cause a spectacle. I thought that was good. I thought that was very good. And I like how when he walks out into the shadows, or walks out of the shadows and into the sunset, that was very beautiful and very symbolic. You know, manga readers know exactly what I'm referring to. It's actually kind of cruel what they did here. So I thought that that was good. You know, this was one of those times where for an anime only fan, you see this and you're thinking this is just a beautiful shot. You know, manga readers see this fan and they say, oh my God, they're just playing around with this at this point. So I thought that was a nice little, you know, wink, wink, nod, nod to manga fans. I thought that was pretty cool right there. Now, the other thing that is definitely one of the highlights of the episode is the fact that Tsunade says that, hey, you know, it's our duty to inform the next generation of what happened during the Fourth Great Ninja War, even though they haven't actually gone through war themselves. So I thought that was cool that you saw Tsunade kind of leading the charge there. And I've seen people say, how come Naruto isn't the one giving the speech? I think that it's more fitting that you actually have Tsunade give it. It's not any disrespect to Naruto because Naruto is the current Hokage, but Tsunade was the Hokage who led the village during that war and through that war. So I think that it's okay. I think it's perfectly fine for Naruto to step back and let one of his predecessors actually give that speech right there. I think that that's fine. fine. I think either way it could have worked, but I think for me personally, it just hits harder to have Tsunade do it. Now, Naruto, as we all know, the dude breaks out the Talk no Jutsu Bible. At some point, Naruto's gonna start preaching a sermon up there. You know, Tsunade is more so to the point. So I'm cool with that. And the other thing that I'm definitely cool with is how they kind of ended the episode, where with Shikamaru, after realizing that his father had full faith in him, you know, he looks over at Shikadai and Shikamaru is completely at peace there. I thought that was a very, very good moment right there. And the thing that I'll definitely say though is that, you know, for these transition episodes, as they're building towards the Owl / the Vessel arc, I think that they're definitely accomplishing what they needed to, which is they're explaining stuff that the manga did not do. People who watch my manga reviews know that I have several critiques about the artist who is doing the actual manga. Even though Kishimoto is now serving as both the editor as well as the lead writer for the manga, he's not doing the art, and there's quite a few differences there. And when you see how in the anime right now, how they're adding all this extra context to it, that's a direct knock on the mangaka, in my opinion. And I'm not gonna take this time to just bash Ikimoto. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just pointing out the fact that the anime is fleshing out a lot of stuff that the manga just left completely out there. And I don't want to hear that, oh, this is a monthly manga, therefore it's going to be sparse on details. With all due respect, that's absolute bullshit. I read series that are monthly mangas, and other mangaka that are monthly mangaka are a lot more detailed and they pack more actual story into it. This is a direct knock on Ikimoto, and I'm not gonna spend any more time harping on that, because I don't want this to turn into just me bashing the illustrator. That's not what I'm doing. I think sometimes people misconstrue and confuse a craft-based critique on a mangaka, or in this case, in how the actual story is being presented, with actual hating. There's a big difference between the two, so I want to go ahead and clear that up now. Overall, the way that they strung everything together, this car actuation arc and these transition episodes where they're leading into the next arc, I think that they're doing a phenomenal job building up the threat of Car, and they're doing things in a subtle way to where even with a character like Al, they're building him to make him more sympathetic. That way, when the downfall for the character happens, you are conflicted and you're torn. And I think that the great way they symbolize this is how you have Al standing in the darkness, and that leaf falls down and the dude ends up catching it with his fingers. So I thought that that was good. I thought that was very good right there. Very good foreshadowing, a very good way to actually end the episode. Now, I want to talk about the next episode preview. I normally don't do that, and I started to just make a video breaking down the next episode preview, but if I do something like that, I'm gonna end up using audio, and using audio is a really good way to get a copyright strike. I'm already kind of playing with it by even using the clips in the episodes, but I'm just trying to do stuff that is going to be more appealing to some of you guys. But what I will say though is that I've seen people talk about the new designs of the Car members, and what I mean by new designs is the anime art style is done in Masashi Kishimoto's art style, because the people at Studio Period and the outsourcing are more accustomed to drawing stuff in Kishimoto's style. The manga, Ikimoto's art style, and the way that Ikimoto draws the characters is slightly too drastically different in some cases, and so I'm okay with some of the tweaks that they've made when it comes to the various Car members that we've seen in the opening as well as in the next episode preview. The one that definitely stands out the most, and you know, this isn't, you know, perverted joke or anything like that, the one that stands out the most is Delta. They've definitely gone more of a fan service route with Delta. That's something that I 100% expected. I mean, the outfit is still the same, but they've actually made Delta even thicker than she is in the manga. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing is the hair in the anime seems to be a little bit more centered than it actually is in the manga. I thought that that was a nice touch. They definitely made her thicker up top. Her boobs are a lot bigger and her hips even look bigger. I mean, they've done quite a few things to Delta's character, little small things. I think that they're improvements, but you can definitely tell, number one, that they have made changes to Delta as well as with Amato's character, and they made some slight tweaks to Jigen. There are little small things when you compare it to the manga version and you look at the manga and the anime version side by side. You can definitely see just some small aesthetic changes, nothing too drastic, something very similar to what they did with Shoujoji, where they tweaked it just enough to where it looks like it's Masashi Kishimoto's art style and less so like what you get with Ikimoto's art style, who, just to reiterate, Ikimoto is still the artist for the manga going forward. Kishimoto is just doing the story, but you can tell that they made some small changes, and I think it's more than welcome. You guys know I'm not a big fan of Ikimoto's art, but another thing you see here is that they also definitely outsourced for the next episode. I normally don't talk about animation like that, but you can definitely tell that that was something that they outsourced. This isn't typically Studio Period's work right here. And you know, for those of you guys who don't know this, you know, some of these animation studios, especially for ones that are doing weekly anime like Boruto, it's not always the main studio that's working. You're gonna have episodes where the in-between shots or a majority of the animation is handled by other studios, and it's simply for the fact that these anime studios, they've got a huge workload, and when it comes to weekly anime, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I'm really excited to see how this next episode works, because it looks like we're gonna get more of a behind the scenes for the members of Kara, and I think that that's the best way to actually set up what is probably gonna go down in episode 180, where that's the start of the vessel arc. So overall, I thought that this episode definitely did its job. You know, my episode question to you guys, I've actually got two. So number one, the first question I have is, how do you feel about the story that they gave for how Al survived? Does that make him more of a sympathetic character for you, or are you indifferent towards him? And then my second question that I have for you guys is, how do you feel about them taking the time to do a day of remembrance for the sacrifices made during the Fourth Shinobi War? And if you're a fan of Neji, how did you feel when you saw that picture of Neji that was being held? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.